Welcome back, folks. This is part 2 of the Android Studio tutorial. First part was making the UI that you see in Activity Login here. That one. We've got all of the buttons set up. We've got everything ready for writing the code to link it up, and now we're actually going to do that. So, in the last tutorial I mentioned how that is just there to turn off the action bar, and that is to set our XML, the file we've just made, to see it on the screen. And this is simply a wrapper around like a system, like a debug message, which calls upon my custom method, which is just called underscore. And if you hold Control and you click on something, it'll take you to the method definition in Android Studio. And here we are. That just is literally a wrapper that I pass a string to that will print out using the tag my app, whatever activity I'm in, a couple of hashes, and then my message, making it very clear for us to see which class has produced what output. And right away I'm going to go and start writing the code to get the text fields, edit texts. Okay, so the first thing to do is to find the name of the things you want to get. So the first one we want to get is that one, ET username, which is an edit text, so we can actually copy its ID like that, and then back in login activity we can declare it, edit text, and then paste. And I keep the name of the variable in the code identical to the one in the XML, because then there's no worries about having to remember two versions. So better idea. Edit text here is red. Hold Alt and press Enter. You get this option, import class. There you go. It will add an import for it there. Okay, so now we've declared it. Let's make it. Let's initialize it. You can, in Android Studio, you can just start typing, and there it is. So equals, and now because it's an edit text, but it comes in as an object, I guess we have to cast it. So type edit text here. That just means it will convert from a generic thing into what we actually want. And now we need to find it using its view. Type find, and then you'll see that find view by ID, which takes an integer ID. This is from the superclass activity or context or something, doesn't really matter. Now we have the resource file R, which we know contains everything that we've made. And we know that in that we want IDs, so we type .id, and then we know that in there must be the one we want, so we type dot, and we can actually just paste ET username. And now let's briefly have a look at R. I didn't expect that. Or maybe you can't look at R in Android Studio, but anyway, R is a machine generated thing which sort of has an integer for everything. That's why that works, because when we made ET username, somewhere Android Studio or the SDK generated a file called R, and we can statically access parts of it like that, .id, .et username. So that's made for us by the system. Don't have to worry about that. But that is now live, that username. Edit text, so it will work. And now we'll just do the password one, too, so we can do them both at the same time. Whoop, don't know how that happened. We knew that one was called ET password, so just take that there, change that there, and we can add another one, comma, there. And that'll keep all of our edit texts nicely together up here. If you want, you can put them on a new line like this, if you prefer the neatness. Right, so what do we really want now? Well, the most important thing next is a login button. And I probably won't go through every single component, like find your password and forgot your password and sign up. I just want to show a login, because I think that's kind of mystified in many areas, including for me. Over the years, I would have loved something like this. Right, we know the login button is an image button, so we go to it, and we get its name, IB login. Go back to login activity, and we do the same here. Image button, paste, hover over image button, press Alt Enter, import class, adds the import, Now we want this button to react, but we have to find it first in the same way we found the other one. So just copy, paste that, change that to image button. It's not an edit text anymore, and put the IB login thing in there. And now you can close it up if you want, keep it neat. If you really want to keep it neat, you can press tab there before every equals, and it'll line them up nicely. And I think studies have shown that less noise on the eye, more completeness like that allows easier understanding. I often find that even if you want to go crazy on it, you could push that forward, and you can glance and see exactly what's happening. Right, IB login. Now we want to set a click listener, so we want it to respond to button clicks. So we actually just type IB login dot, and I know the method's called set on click listener. This is a beautiful thing about when code completion works. I hardly have to do any work. I press enter there, it'll do it. And now I think, oh, it needs a new on click listener. New on. That's going to do it for me. Look, press enter. Oh, I need the methods. Oh, it's done them for me. Look at all of that code I got for free from Android Studio there. And now I can say login button hit. And if I run that now and hit the login button, well, I'll demonstrate that. You have to really verify at every stage whether things are working. Don't just blindly go coding on, because it'll be harder. Do it in little chunks, little simple steps, and then eventually the huge complex problem will be completed, and you won't have really had to do much apart from these mini steps. But if you plow on with your code and you don't test it, sometimes it gets really worrying trying to find what's gone wrong. Right, you can see login activity born. On my screen I can see the login button. When I press it now, you see login button hit. I keep hitting it, login button hit, it works. Awesome. So now what we want that to do is read the username and password, don't we? So for now we'll just we'll declare a new string. We'll call that username equals, and we'll go to the username edit text, etu, get text, oops, is the way that we get the text. Now that'll do that because it doesn't actually return a string, it returns an editable. Probably a better way to do this, but if you just add a string like that, it will convert it to a string. Now we get the username to, do the same for that, password I mean, sorry. Try and copy and paste things as much as possible. So it's annoying me that that password one is above the username one, because logically I like to keep them in some sort of order. Right, so now we've got the username and the password. Maybe we should print them, just to make sure. So, username. And remember, my little underscore thing is nothing magical about it. It's simply a wrapper around log, which would take you 50 million years to keep typing. And you'd probably lose your mind. I did lose my mind by typing system.out.println before I came up with this solution. Right, now I'm just going to run it again. Like I said before, best to keep everything in chunks, make sure it really is reporting what we believe it is reporting. I'll bring up my little script window. Android Studio is currently launching the activity, so we'll see login activity born at the bottom here in a second. And then when I hit the button, it'll say login button hit. Well, I'll type a username and password in first. Alright, I'll type anything in username. I've typed BXUDJCNCJ. Password, I'll just type pass with loads of S's. And that's coming up as stars. I don't know if I should show you that, but let's have a look. I'll just refresh what my device is showing. And there you can see the password one is dots, and that is what I typed in the username. So when I hit login now, see there it'll say login button hit, username, password. So that's good. We are close to utilizing this information. Now, really we need some simple error checking. So we'll just say that if the username or the password is not filled in, we won't let them proceed, right? So if username dot length is 0. Now we need an OR, and I do not have an OR on this keyboard, can you believe? So I have to copy and paste it from a special document, which has actually gone missing for the first time in years. I did clean my desktop the other day. I might have to pause. Ridiculous as it is, I'll have to go and pause and go and find a pipe. Back in a second. Okay, I'm back. I copied from the Java website. Crazy. And now I'll keep it on my desktop again. If username equals 0, or, which is that double vertical line, or password equals 0. Now we want what we call a toast message. We'll put a return in there first. Return means it won't go anywhere. It'll not execute the code after. Now I already have written a class called tools, and I have a static method in here called toast, which takes a message and a context, and it's wrapped up in this handler to avoid the nonsense from Android about not being able to post a toast on the non-UI thread sometimes, because I want to call this from all over at times. So this little bit of code here just simply gets around a message from Android that complains that it's not on the main UI thread. And there's a few ways to do this. If you have access to the activity, you can call activity.run on UI thread. But actually, for now, right, because we don't need to worry about that, we're actually in a real activity. I think I can just put in here toast.makeText on my message, which is well, let's just put please fill in username and password. Now we could, if we wanted, tell them which one is 0 with a further if, if username length is 0, or your username has not been filled in, or your password has not been filled in. But they're sort of luxuries that we don't need to worry about right now. And then toast.length short just makes it come up for a short time. You can change that to length long. Shows it. And we need a context. Well, let's go up here and just put context C. Context is hard to explain, but it's kind of like, I don't know, it's what you need in the activity. It's this sort of thing. Great explanation, that, eh? Point is, you can get one by going C equals this. So this somehow along the line, because it's an activity which is a context, which extends a context, I think, it becomes very simple to make a context just by assigning this. Now we couldn't do it in here because at this point we're inside the on-click listener. So this is not actually a context. This is an on-click listener. But because we did it up here, outside, when it is able to do so, we can pass that one in. Of course, Java now... Oh no. Forget what I was about to say. I was about to rip Java. Oops. Okay, so that works. So now what I'm going to do is run it and hit login without entering a username and password, see if it pops up that toast message, and maybe try and... No, I was going to say I'll screen grab it for you, but there's no point in that. The toast, you'll have seen that before. It's a black little window that pops up with white text. Briefly, lovely little way of presenting information without a hell of a lot of fuss. It kind of makes people lazy, I guess. But maybe that, or it's just a proper decent UI paradigm. I don't know. But mosquito, damn mosquitoes, flying zombies. So if I'll try and screen grab it actually. Not gonna work. For the benefit of anyone who doesn't know what a toast looks like, there it is at the bottom. It's fading out there, but please fill in username and password as being said. And you're thinking, great, or whatever, but how do you get to the meat of the sandwich which is the actual logging in. Well, I'm not going to lie to you, it's complex and there's ways that lots of different coders will do it. I'm just going to show you my own way, but I'm going to pause it first and get another drink. Okay, so Java wants you, Android wants you to do this sort of thing off the main thread, because if you did it on the main UI thread and it goes away to the server and says here's a username and password, can I log in, or what's your answer, the whole OS and phone will hang while that happens, and that's awful user experience, of course. So they've strictly enforced this so that even if you try and do it the old way, you used to be able to get away with it, but now it'll deliberately crash. And I believe the best way to do it is to use an async task, but most of these things I'm about to say, you know, if you're a good Android coder, you've probably got your own ideas, but these are tried and tested for me, and I'm you know, a relatively successful freelancer. So here we go. What I do is I usually make a class that extends the async that I was just talking about, and you can rearrange this and refactor it any way you like. But for now, I'm going to make a little class in here, right? Which is, it seems weird. Put it in its own file if you want, but I just want to be able to see it while I'm working at the moment. So I'll put public class networking extends async task. Open the class, close the class, and now it has a method which it will. Let me pause this. Someone's messaging me. Okay. It wants a method, but you can actually make it implement them if you hold Alt and press Enter over the async there. Implement the methods, and the method it does is do in background, which is kind of self-explanatory. You can delete this return null, or you can leave it and just work above it. It does it in the background on its own thread so as not to hold up the UI. So we'll put something in here like do in background has been called. No, just do in background, so we know what's happening. And that'll actually come from the wrapper down here, so it'll look like it came from login activity, but that doesn't really matter, we know. And now we need a method that it will call in here to do the work that we want it to do, right? And for now, I'm just going to make a method that will do an HTTP post. Not a get, but a post. And the posts are a bit more difficult now. But a bit of a pain, really. But we'll do that anyway. And we'll call this private void get JSON. And a lot of these can be changed afterwards, right? Because you might not make the first decision correctly, but it doesn't really matter as long as your functionality works, which is the hardest bit. We want URL, obviously, because we have a server somewhere hosting some scripts. And we want some way of recognizing what we want to do. So I'm going to put something called string state there. And that is literally just so I can go if state equals I don't know, register. Yeah? And this is, you know, a bit cheap, but like I say, as long as you get it working. So then I can go get JSON, and it'll need a URL. Let's just give it anything for now. Just call it google.com. And then a comma, and then a state, and I'll put register. Now, really, you probably want constants for this sort of thing. So you could do like public static final int network state register equals 1. Yeah. Damn mosquitoes. Static. Change that to static. Yes, and then instead of passing in a string, we can then pass that in, and then instead of doing if equals, we can do switch. And we'll switch the state, which is now an integer. Catch the case like this. And always, 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 please put something in the default there, saying something like warning, unknown state, because at some point in your life that'll ruin your week, because you'll think, why is it not working? But it'll actually be working. It's just going through into the state at the bottom and you're not seeing it. In fact, often I make sure I do see it. Okay, so what have we got now? We've got a class called networking, which when it starts will go to Google and try and register. Well, actually we want our own URL in there, which I can't give away at the moment because of the client's data. So I'm going to put that in tools in a string and refer to it. I'm going to do that now. Okay, so the URL I'm passing in now is coming from tools.url register network. No, URL register. And the URL really only looks something like www.mycoolserver.com, and then this sort of thing, API v3 register. I mean, that's the web developer's work. You don't have to care about that, but that is the URL I'll be calling, apart from that bit in the middle is different. And on a HTTP GET, it's a little bit easier personally, because it could be like register.php, and then you can pass in, you know, username equals Gaz and password equals mypass. This is easier to code than the HTTP post stuff, but you know, not that much easier, and you can get used to it. So that's the sort of thing we're not dealing with, that end bit there. In HTTP post, what you do is you add these little key value things onto the post parameters before you send them off to the server. Possibly more secure and things like that, and you certainly can't see the URLs and that in the same way. But I'm kind of behind on the web stuff these days. I used to be a web designer over 10 years ago, but now I don't really have much of an interest. Okay, so awesome, I have just paused the video and forgot to unpause it, so I don't know where I got to. So I'm going to backtrack a little bit. You make the HTTP client, default HTTP client. You make the HTTP request, the post, which is the request that you'll send. You make a list of name value pairs called post parameters, which is a new array list of name value pairs. And I did just explain all this, but you know, I lost it. And then that is all generic, so it all happens up here. And then the specifics that you want done get done in this switch here, in the case, so only in register. And the actual specifics are adding the post parameters, which, looking at the API doc supplied to me by the server developer, the back end guy, I know that it requires a username with a capital N like that, and the username itself, the one that we will have entered above when we're typing it in the app, and the password. So I take, I've just typed all that and I copy it, and I know that I'm exactly the same for password. I just take password there and password in there. So what that'll do is it'll make the HTTP stuff, make the request, and now we are building a list of parameters, username and password, that we've typed in to send to the server. And now we actually want to execute that and give those post parameters themselves. How do we do that? Right, well, I'm going to introduce a boolean here, and I'm just going to call that valid equals false. And just so when we get in here, valid will be true. Oops. And then if we go into a state we don't know, valid won't be true. So the next bit of code will only get executed if valid is true, i.e. if we actually have added parameters, if it really is something. And other than that, we're going to put valid was not true. Will do nothing. And this one, we'll just put valid. Take these out later and stuff. Now what we need to do here is actually quite complicated stuff. So, you know, I don't know this stuff by heart. I have to the right here a piece of code that I've written already and I'm going to use. So here we are. I'm just going to type it. I'm going to copy and paste it basically and explain it. So this, I don't know where it came from originally, probably one of the Google documents when I was first learning Android. I keep all my back code so I never have to go through the pain and suffering of writing again. And what I'm doing here is just going through and importing everything by pressing Alt-Enter until all the red is gone. It looks like I need a buffered reader as well, which I haven't declared, so I'll put that in. And now, so you make a reader. A buffered reader, this will read in everything that comes from the server. You use a string buffer here, not instead of a string, because it's just quicker to append to in this situation. So you make one of these, URL encoded form entity, and you give it your post parameters from up here, and then you reset the entity on the request, so it's ready to go. Make a variable for your response. Make a buffered reader to read in the response and get the content, and then in this loop it'll literally read back what the server sends you into the string buffer, and then at the end the string buffer will contain the JSON that the server sent back. So this is kind of boilerplate code, you know, the standard way to do it. So when you hit this point and it says execute request, that's when it does the real work that you've set up all the way now. And then response gets the answer from the server here. So that's the work going off to the server and executing the request with all of the post parameters in it. And then this thing, response, will wait and get the answer. And then when it does have the answer, it'll make a new reader with that response in it and the content, and then loop through. You see here, while line equals read line is not null, while there is lines of text to read, let's read them, append the line we've read and a separator, a new line, to that string buffer, and then finally when we're done, close it and report any errors here if any happen, and print the stack trace, and eventually if it's all good, print the result here. And then we need to go off and do something with that because it'll be JSON, so we need to make a JSON object from it. But hopefully this should work, and hopefully this is clear. I don't know how much I lost when I paused it. But the final thing we need to do is make a call to this. Let me pause it for a second. Yeah, I was just checking something. So okay, right, once we get to this point up here, if it hasn't returned, we can do the networking. Now to do that, make an instance of our class, networking, n equals new networking. This is the custom class we made ourselves here. And to start it, you just need to call n.execute. And it actually takes a list of parameters. You can pass in a list of parameters there, as you can see here, come in as objects. And that's useful, because I could pass in up there the register thing from up there, instead of doing it from in here. In fact, you don't want to do it from in here. You want to pass in from execute here, network state register. Let's see what happens. But, it's from networking. Now I do find that these quite annoying trying to do this. Oh no, it just did work, I think. And you can also pass the URL in from there too. So you could pass, I think you should be able to go execute URL register, and that keeps it nicely modular, you know. And hopefully I should be able to use the parameters, first one like that for the URL, and the parameters second one like that for the state. But they're both objects, so I think, and I can't remember doing this, but for some reason I've forgotten. You have to cast them to make them work, like that, and not cast to an okay, well maybe a large integer like that. Okay, that works. So what's going to happen is, when we run the program, it'll say born, add the action bar, go to our XML view, declare all of these, and then when we hit the login button, grab the username and password we've put in. If they're not zero, if they're zero, it'll tell us so and not let us go any further. If they're not zero, it'll make a new instance of this class networking, execute it, passing in the URL for register, and an integer that we have defined ourselves to register, to represent the state, the network state register. And then in there that'll call getJSON, which we could rename to whatever at some point, maybe that's not a good name. Passing in the URL and the state. GetJSON receives the URL and the state, sets up the whole request, makes a list of the parameters in here specifically for register, and then executes that request, decodes the response, and then at the end we print out result. I'm going to run that, and I've probably done too many chunks in one go, like I was kind of saying earlier, don't do that, but you know, sometimes you can't just run it because you just won't get anything when you're halfway through. So let's run it and see what happens. It's just appeared on my screen right now. You can see it says login activity born. Now username, Gaz, I'll type, that's my nickname. Password, my pass. And remember, it will go and talk to the server now and we'll get a result, and we should see it when I hit login. It says do in background post to URL now valid. Result. Sorry, your chosen username is not available. Please choose another. Well, that is a result, isn't it? Metaphorically and whatever the other one is. Because that is a real live message from the server. It works. And it's only saying that because I've used Gaz, because I've already registered on the site. So I'll call myself Gazi with a Y, and I'll log in again. And you can see there's a little bit of time where the phone sends a request over the net, millions of miles through the crazy highways and under the waters and through the pipes to the server, and comes back again. But it does that all with in a thread, so you never have to think, you never have to wait for it. It just seems to happen. And because I used Gazi there, G-A-Z-Y, I was able to register, and I did get back a result here from the server, and you can see it sends back venues and slugs and stuff. Now what do we want to do? We want to decode the JSON. You know, you want to decode this string that's printed out here into real, genuine JSON that we can work with. How the hell do we do that? Right. Well, we'll just do it in the same method for now. You wouldn't... No, we'll do it in another one. We'll call it decode... No, we'll call it decode result into JSON. And we'll pass in string buffer dot toString, because I'm just going to use a normal string, and they're not compatible. I'll call this private void decode result into JSON, and I'll put in string results. No, response. Okay, what we want to do is break it up into an object or an array. Now there's better ways. You should analyze the JSON in a proper JSON formatter. That's what you should do. So on my right screen here, I'm going to Google for the words JSON formatter. That'll bring me up with JSON formatter and validators, JSON formatter.curiousconcept.com. And what I'm going to do is copy and paste that data I actually got from ADB here by right-clicking Mark, and I'm just going to copy all of it if I can, and then right-click like that. I'll copy it, and then I can whack that into the validator here, which actually validates it and makes it into real JSON, a bit like this. Well, this is actually what the server sent back there. So you can keep that in your code as an example when you're decoding it. Well, I'll copy that into the top of the decode method actually, so I can look at it. So that to me looks like a JSON object rather than an array. So what I want to try and do here is just type JSON object. 2 seconds. JSON object JO equals new JSON object. Then we pass in the response for that, and that actually should create the object. Now it's going to complain because you need to surround it with a try catch, so do that, and in here add a message you won't forget. Warning, problem decoding the JSON, and you can do E plus E dot get message and let it print the stack trace underneath. Okay, so if all has gone well, you should be able to get information from this, like the name there, my own name, Ghazi, that I used. So what we'll do is we'll go string name equals Joe dot get string name, and we'll put the message in here that says JSON contents, and if this name prints Ghazi, then we are good to go, because what it means is we've passed in the response, we've successfully made an object and not had this catch problem, and we've actually grabbed one of the values from it and stuck it in name. And at that point we will be close to being finished this tutorial, really, because I can simply say if I get back all of these things, updated at, created at, or ID, you don't get any of them if you fail. So I can just say if I get a venue, then we've succeeded. We've registered actually. I've just realised the whole time here I'm doing the login screen, but I'm actually in the networking, I'm registering. So this is actually the sign up screen code I've tacked onto the login screen XML, but you know, they're almost the same. Apologies for that. So when I go oh, what's happened there? Oh no. Right, when I type in I'll type in Ghazi again. I'll type in Ghazi again because we've got to deal with a situation where someone has already done it. Warning, problem decoding the JSON, no value for name. So actually what we can do there is go either detect that there's a word error when there's an error, or let the catch do it. But actually catches are a bit slow, so I don't think we should do that. So what we should do is simply, we don't need a JSON a JSON object for that, do we? It just says error, username is unavailable. Oh no, we do really. We do, because we want to get the real error message to present to the user live from the server. Anyway, what I'm going to do is say if response dot contains error, else no errors detected, right? So if there's no error, it will continue as what we're doing. But if errors are detected, what I'm going to do is actually the same as here. I'm just going to copy and paste this try catch, because I do still want to make a JSON object just to extract the error message. So let's close it up a bit and make it a bit neater. I'm just going to give that a couple of letters just so I don't get confused with the other one, if it happens. So I know there's going to be no name, but there will be something called error. So if I can get error like that and pass it into a variable called error, and let's just say error from server is error, and return, so it does nothing more. But actually we want to toast that too, but let's just check if it works first. We want it to pop up and just, you know, show the live error, which is good for the user to know, you know, for sure. And it's installing, blah blah blah, up to the 41-minute mark. Hope I haven't wasted time, or hope everyone's at least semi happy with this. Right, I'll use the name Gazzy again. It's sorry, just had to kill a mosquito there. You know, they're ravaging me. Flying zombies. Okay, so result error. Errors are detected comes up here, right? Which is what I coded in there to happen. And then it says error from server is, sorry, your chosen username is not available. And we do not see this warning, problem decoding the JSON. Now I'll make that a bit better. Warning, problem decoding the error JSON. And we don't see that, which means we successfully did make a JSON object, even though it was an error, allowing us to toast the error back to the user by simply copy and pasting this. And to be honest, this is another place where I like toast, so I'll probably make a wrapper for it. So I'll probably just go toast like that, make a little wrapper, so I don't have to do all of that. And I'm going to put in there that, and I'll just put S for string, string S, which means I can now remove that and simply call toast like that. Clean, much tidier, less typing. And that also means I can call toast from our earlier situation here, like so. Where the hell are we? Blah, blah, blah. Okay, here we are. So I want to present this toast to the user actually, so that they know that they can pick another URL, another username, sorry. And I'm going to run that, and I'm going to try and screen grab it to show you, as I did before. And that should demonstrate that, well, the server is sending back a successful error message. Okay, so I'm going to call myself Gazzy again. Oops. And I'll just put whatever in there. And I'm going to hit refresh and log in at the same time. Oh, and my app crashed. Well, why did it crash? This is where the real ADB comes in, because actually mine cuts out the stack traces, but you can right click on the real one and go up until you see something like this. Can't create handler inside a thread that is not called looper.prepare. Yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier. More nonsense from the threading system in Android. I usually copy this. It's probably not the right way, but I don't see why Android should try and make your life a living hell just because you want to send a toast message. So you know, I just get around it by, I'll put this code that I think I explained this earlier, right? And it's just really a handler that calls the looper stuff to get onto the main thread. Doesn't really matter what it does. And that's what I was going to say before. S now needs to be final because it's declared in the name of the class. But it doesn't matter, we don't need to change S. In fact, according to John Carmack, any variable that you never change that comes into a method should be declared final. And I actually agree with him. I mean, why not? Adds that extra information. As you can see, I haven't started doing it yet, but I will. Okay, let's see if putting that in makes our toast get around Android's threading nonsense. And if you're an Android expert and you're screaming at your screen now about this toast method, yeah, show me a better way. I'll bring this back. It's now running. I'll type in Gazi, same as before. The aim is to get the toast to work. And guess what? It worked. I didn't screen grab it because I wasn't sure it would work. But what I'm going to do is hit login and refresh at the same time. And see if I get it. Go back to Photoshop. Bit annoying how you can't zoom out on this window. Can you? Nope, you can't. Should be able to zoom in and out on that. That would be an excellent feature. But I can paste it into here. Nope, you can't see the toast, but I swear there was a toast. I swear it. Anyway, what's happening is the toast message does appear and says, sorry, your chosen username is not available, please choose another. This is live information from the server, very valuable to present to the user rather than a hard-coded message. I'm going to give it one more try, see if I can get any toast. No, it's just that thing takes hours to refresh, and it's not refreshing the time. Forget all that. It is working, it is presenting the toast to us. Now, okay, that's the error. What about the non-error? Well, it's not any different really. What you want to do is get everything from the request, name, all of that, get each one of them, and then store them like so. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Do like this. Nothing fancy about this, it's just simple copy paste. Get them all as strings if possible, just easier. Right. Now, as I was talking about earlier, to keep things neat, I will often hit tab twice, three times there, because I want them to line up with the longest one. Jesus, tonight, crawling. Okay, no wonder I woke up. I bet you I woke up because I was getting savaged. Okay, I'm going to put another one. This is crazy. 2 seconds. Okay, looks like I'm under attack here by mosquitoes. Right, I just want to print everything that we have, so we know what you've got. And then, to be honest, it's up to you after that. This tutorial is almost done because it is demystified. That's how you handle the error message. Now, simply all you want to do, because you haven't failed, you have actually worked. You want to send them on to a page that says something like, "Well done. You have just registered, here is your username," or something. So what we've gone through is hopefully how to do a login, code the whole login screen, and I could just say, I keep getting login and register mixed up, I'm sorry. Registered. let's just assume the whole time I was talking about a register screen, not a login, register. I would do login next if you want, but very, very similar stuff. It'll be sending the username and password over, and instead of getting back, well done, you've registered, it'll be like, you know, welcome back or something. So, let me run this. Oh no, let's put another toast in too. So even when it fails, even when it doesn't fail, it toasts you. And the reason being is because we might as well say successfully registered to the user. So down here I'm going to do a toast that says registration successful. Is that how you spell successful? Right, I'm going to run that again, and that should be it. We are at the end of 2 hours. First hour on the markup language, second hour on getting the GUI stuff from the XML, making a reactive button presses, using an async to do some networking code, sending off the request with the post parameters intact on there, and then decoding the request into a string, and then eventually passing that string over and making it into a genuine JSON object that we can either read the error from or read the information from. That one's just a normal fly. And that's it. All the while whilst being eaten alive. Let me check it works. I'm going to register as Mosquito and die as my password. And when I hit login, let's go back to my window here. That's the real one. Yeah, registered. And you can see here, no error detected. My name, Mosquito, and all my information when I was created and stuff. In fact, you know, you could neaten that up a little bit too. I normally do this to neaten these up. Put dots in like that, then it's very clear in the command line window. Much clearer than it was there, and just a lot nicer to look at. Successfully registered. Registration successful. And I saw the toast come up there. Then you know now, I don't know, do what you want. Launch a new intent from here. Intent I equals new intent. Then start activity, start a new activity based on the fact that you have registered. And we take them to the next screen. Don't use a toast if you don't want to. Take them to the home screen, or welcome to this app screen, or the tutorial screen. But I'm going to do one last run here just to show you the neatened output before I sign off for the day, and go going to buy a flamethrower and kill 100,000 mosquitoes. Right, I'll register as A password BBB. Now if I hit that, doing post, there you go. Response straight away, no error detected. There's the contents, very neatly set up, and we are fully registered and ready to do something else. I hope that you've learned something from this, and I hope that when I paused it and forgot to unpause it, I recapped properly. It's been emotional. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.